Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Penny. I'm a master esthetician here in Portland, Oregon, and I'm excited that you're here today, you guys, because we're going to do the Friday Q&A. This is the video that I'm doing almost every week, barring last week, and I'm trying to answer as many of your comments and your questions and go over as many subjects as we can in one video every week. So if you are new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing, tap the bell so that you know when I put out other videos. Let's get right into it, you guys. We've got some great topics. Today we're gonna go over some differences in modalities. We're gonna talk about things like radio frequency versus high frequency versus laser and light and HIFU. We've got a number of modalities to discuss, their differences, that kind of stuff. We're gonna talk about getting on retin-a, how to successfully get on retin-a. So I wanna get right into it. First question, you guys, comes from Deb Shand. And she says, hi Penny, I have a question I was hoping you could answer in a Friday Q&A. It's about retin-a and how to know when it doesn't agree with your skin. I've been using it on and off for years, but haven't gotten any traction because my skin peels. The texture doesn't seem great and my pores look worse and makeup looks awful for weeks. I recently saw you said not to go more than 72 hours between so that you can acclimate, which she hasn't tried. So maybe that's the answer. She uses 0.25% and she buffers it with moisturizer or oils in areas that react the most around her nose and her chin. She has perioral dermatitis, and so those areas are always difficult. She's wondering if she should keep doing it or if she should move on and do something different. And I think that this is such a good question. I think a lot of people have this exact same experience. And the things that you're doing right, Deb, first of all, a low percentage of retin-a is the way to go when you're starting out on retin-a. The only thing that you could change to make it even more mild would be to drop down one more time to a retinaldehyde. So on the scale of retinoids, we have retinol with an OL. That is the weakest form, generally speaking. That's the weakest form of a retinoid that is commonly used. And then if you step up, we've got retinaldehyde, which is retinal with an AL. That is one step below the active vitamin of tretinoin, retin-a. It's a retinoic acid, the Mac Daddy main vitamin. So you are using a very low percentage of that active vitamin. You could step down one more time and use a retinaldehyde, and see if you could possibly gain tolerance that way. Now you definitely do want to, space out your doses about 72 hours. If you go longer than 72 hours, unfortunately, your skin never acclimates. You're in this constant state of your skin trying to acclimate to the vitamin. So you want to space it out about 72 hours in the beginning. I have found that the difference between retin-a and retinaldehyde is marked. It is incredibly less irritating. So I definitely think that that is the way that you can proceed. Now, as far as it just not being compatible with some people's skin, yeah, I definitely think there are people, undoubtedly, that just don't get along with vitamin A. And I know that that's not necessarily a popular opinion because everybody says it's the gold standard and all of that, and I agree with that, but everybody doesn't have the exact same skin. So at some point you do need to listen to your skin and say, this just isn't working for me. Having something that's going to make me younger in 20 years, but all the while I look older while I'm using it, doesn't seem like the best decision. So I completely empathize with you. However, that said, try the retinaldehyde. I think that that is a great way to go. Now, if you drop all the way down to retinol can actually be kind of irritating, more so than retinaldehyde, because it requires two enzymatic conversions to become retinoic acid, which is the active form of the vitamin, retin-a. And so a lot of people actually experience more irritation with retinol. So retinaldehyde to me is kind of the sweet spot of a starter vitamin A. So that would be my suggestion to you. That would be my suggestion to everybody. If you are just starting out on vitamin A and you're not sure where to begin, try retinaldehyde first. Try it every 72 hours. Don't put too much on your skin. Let your skin dry 100% for at least 20 minutes before you apply it. And don't use other things like glycolic acid, benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid in the same routine at the same time when you're using a retinaldehyde. Try and be nice to your skin otherwise. I hope that that helps. Okay, the next question comes from Bobby, and this says, "Hi Penny, watched your video on boosting elastin. Wondering if you'd discuss at-home microneedling versus microcurrent devices for sagging. What's best for this problem?" Okay, and then she says she has some face thinning and sagging around her mouth and chin. Okay, here's the important thing to know about microcurrent and microneedling. It's very, very confusing. I know there's so many micro words, right? Okay, microneedling is going to induce collagen. That's going to help with the quality of our skin. That is going to help with tightening our skin, not necessarily help with sagging. While you might feel like you get a little bit of a lift from microneedling because the skin tightens, it isn't the first line of defense when it comes to truly sagging skin, okay? Now, microcurrent, on the other hand, is an alternating current that works on our muscles. It also encourages circulation, so it can help with collagen production, but it works on our muscles, stimulating them to produce something called adenosine triphosphate. It also helps them to contract and kind of have muscle memory, so you get a lift. The thing about microcurrent, though, is that you have to keep using it. It's one of those things where when you stop using microcurrent, the benefits of microcurrent slowly go away. So I would say that when you're talking about sagging, microcurrent is definitely going to be the modality that I would choose. However, that said, the best thing would be a 1-2 punch and to microneedle your skin for skin quality and for collagen, tightening your skin, and microcurrent to work on the muscles to lift. So they definitely do two different things, but they can work in concert as far as the quality of our skin, the sagging, and the tightness. Hope that that makes sense. Okay, the next one comes from Emma Chase, and this one says, "What does microneedling or nanoneedling do on broken capillaries? Does it help reduce them? I have well-managed rosacea, but I'm left with broken capillaries around my nose." Okay, this is a great question. Now, first of all, I want to say that microneedling and nanoneedling are not going to help your broken capillaries. I think that the best case scenario as far as that's concerned is that possibly by making the skin healthier, you may be able to see your broken capillaries a little bit less. But as far as actually getting rid of broken capillaries, I believe that the best line of defense is light therapy. That would be intense pulse light, otherwise known as IPL, or laser. Now, I am investigating an at-home IPL device. Other than that, though, you guys, it's an in-office treatment. It is something that you go and you see someone and they apply an IPL, applicator to your face. They zap your face, and that IPL is attracted to the hemoglobin. It's attracted to the blood, and it's able to basically get rid of those broken capillaries. Whether or not they come back, that has to do with your skin health and honestly how you take care of your skin and everything else. So getting rid of them doesn't mean that they're gone forever, but definitely the best way to treat broken capillaries is an in-office light-based treatment. Now, the other thing that you can consider with mild rosacea is talking to your doctor about, there are some vasoconstricting prescriptions that are out that I have seen personally on clients work wonders. One of them is called Rofade. There's Finacea, which is an azelaic acid in a prescription form. So definitely, if you have not heard that there are prescription strength topicals that you can use that can really address redness and make a huge difference in your complexion, talk to your doctor about some of these prescriptions because they can really, really make a big difference on rosacea skin. Oh, this one comes, I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, but it's Woanami. The comment is, "Oh, how I wish you had oily skin, Pen. Thanks for the info." Now, my guess from this comment is because I'm always giving dry skin recommendations and my favorites and that kind of stuff. So what I want to do for those of you who have oily skin is I really do want to reference some of my friends here on YouTube who have oily skin that I think are fantastic skincare resources. One of them is Jennifer Joyce Beauty, and another one is Mrkongsmom. That would be Melanie over there at Mrkongsmom. I'm going to put their channels in the description box, but you guys, both of them are mature women with, well, Melanie's barely mature. Sorry, Mel. She's mature, but she's not mature. Anyway, they have oily skin, and I learn so much from them, regardless of how much I study the skin. I learn so much from them because they are a fantastic reference having oily skin themselves. So if you are looking for people who share favorites and skincare routines and tips and tricks and that kind of stuff for oily skin, these are a couple ladies that I highly I respect, and so I'll share their channels in the description box. Okay, this one is from Getting Jackie's Lyft Uber, Uber ride. She says, Penny, love your channel. Can I please ask what you think of Fibroblast plasma machine? I hear it does wonders, almost better than microneedling. Okay, so I am certified in plasma fibroblast. I have performed it on myself. I got a certification at the same school where I got my master's, and I have performed it on people, and so I'm quite familiar with it. I've used it for sebaceous hyperplasia, and I've also used it for eyelid lift and for under eyes. I've used it for submental and for neck treatment. I've used it on the sides for trying to get a little bit of a lift here on the side, kind of like a facelift. And the results that I have found so far are pretty good, actually. I have found that it definitely does help with the eyelid, get a little bit of reduction in the actual eyelid and a little bit of reduction in the hooding on the eyelid. I would say that it is not better than microneedling. I don't think it's better than microneedling. And the reason why is because there are lots of contraindications. If you have any kind of problem with pigment, it can exacerbate that. It can cause you hyperpigmentation that you then have to address and get rid of. And also, I think a lot of what happens in the very initial lift that you get from plasma fibroblast is dehydration of the skin. You're basically burning little tiny holes, little tiny superficial burns in the skin, and the skin contracts around that, and then when it heals over all of those little burns, you get a tightening. Well, at the same time, you're also experiencing water loss right at that moment, and so the skin kind of dehydrates and sucks up. Well, as soon as the skin rehydrates itself, this is why a lot of people say that they get this amazing tightness right away, but in a couple weeks they notice that they get saggy again. It's just a matter of dehydration and then rehydrating of the skin. Now, long term, as far as collagen induction, I think it does do a really good job. I just think that, again, like I've said before with lots of other things, slow and steady wins the race. If you are regularly microneedling, then I think that the results can be just as good as fibroblast. Specifically speaking, though, obviously the places where we aren't going to microneedle, like the eyelid and sebaceous hyperplasia, then yeah, the plasma fibroblast is an excellent tool. I'm glad that I have it, and I think that in the right hands, it's fantastic. I use a very, very fine needle. I don't use the tip that came with the fibroblast to do actual fibroblast treatments. I think it's too big and definitely could burn the skin. So I think it's a great tool. I do. I don't think it's better than microneedling. They are kind of apples to oranges. They're two different they do two different things. Both end up stimulating collagen. I don't think I'd want to pick one, but if I had to, it would be microneedling for sure. Okay, this one comes from Off the Grid in South Florida. You guys, some of these YouTube names are so great. This one says, "Hi Pen, first time to microneedle with the pen." And then she said some nice things. And the higher the number is more depth, and is 0.5 the depth for most of the face. What areas might be better for 1.5 and why? Okay, so here's the deal with microneedling. Less is more. It is in the beginning, when microneedling was in its infancy, it was thought that you had to go in at 3 millimeters. That's deep, you guys. That's super, super deep. It was thought that you had to go in guns blazing to get a result. What they found out over time is that actually, no, you did not. The sweet spot was like 0.6 millimeters, and you just had to get right into that upper reticular dermis in order to stimulate collagen. Well, different parts of our face obviously are different thicknesses. And, you know, for example, on our eyelid, it's very, very thin skin. On our cheeks, it's a little bit thicker. So yes, you do need to adjust the depth of the needles, but I do like 0.5 on the majority of the face. I know that people will say, if you don't go in 1.5, you're not getting any collagen. That's just not true, you guys. Our face skin is only about 1.6 millimeters before we get to our subcutaneous layer, which is fat. We don't need to needle all the way into our fat to get collagen induction. So less is more. The idea is to trick our body into thinking we have injured our skin so that this entire wound healing process starts and collagen is induced. That's the whole idea. We don't actually want to do serious damage. So you really want to think, what's the least amount of damage I can do to induce collagen so that the body doesn't really have to repair itself. It just thinks it does. So it produces this collagen and I didn't do any damage to my skin for real. So I will tell you that you can, and I will put this up on Instagram, you guys. I will put a chart, a basic chart of the areas of the face that are good for various depths. But the majority of your face, you can do a 0.5 or a 0.75. And then places where it's a little bit fattier, where you can, or plumper, I guess, you can go in a little deeper. You could do a 1 on your cheeks, that kind of thing. But honestly, I don't feel like there's anywhere on your face you need to do a 1.5. I just don't. I feel like current protocols say that is not necessary to induce collagen. So why do it? Why go in too deep? You don't need to do it. You don't need to damage your skin. Hopefully that helps. Okay, this one comes from Carolyn Hamilton, and I just thought that this was a good comment to share. She says, be careful if sheet masks have alcohol. Love Korean products, but be careful. Ingredients in Korean, and unless you can read Korean, you may not know if there's alcohol in it. Other than that, love their products. It's kind of trial and error with the masks. What I want to do right now, you guys, is I want to put up on the screen the alcohols that are quote unquote good and bad. And that way maybe you can pause this video and see some alcohols actually are beneficial. Some alcohols are fatty and they actually provide hydration or moisture to the skin. Some are dehydrating, and those are the ones that you want to be careful of in an ingredient deck. Now, like I have said before, even SD alcohol 40 or denatured alcohol, if it is way down on the list and there are a lot of active ingredients above it, it may be there for a particular reason. You will see a lot of vitamin C serums, for example, that do have alcohol in it that we don't want, that we don't necessarily like in most products. It's there for a reason. It is there to help open that lipid barrier so that the vitamin can actually penetrate. So while I completely agree that using too many products with SD alcohol 40 or denatured alcohol and that kind of thing, especially high up on the list, can absolutely dehydrate the skin, sometimes some of these ingredients are in an ingredient deck, especially way down towards the bottom, for a very good reason. Now, those fatty alcohols, they're good to go. So don't get too confused with all the alcohols being bad, because they're definitely not. I got so many questions about different modalities. So I wanna just kind of go over this super quickly and talk to you a little bit about the difference between ultrasound and radio frequency, high frequency, laser and light. What's important to know, you guys, is that some people asked me about high frequency and if it was the same as HIFU, okay? HIFU. Now, what's important to know is that HIFU is high intensity focused ultrasound, and that uses ultrasound energy to basically help induce collagen. So HIFU is focused ultrasound. Now, this ultrasound energy causes the tissue to heat up rapidly because it's very focused. And once those cells in the targeted area reach a certain temperature, they are damaged. They experience some damage. And then this damage is kind of like when we damage with microneedling. It actually stimulates the production of collagen through the wound healing process. It's a very similar outcome, just with a different modality. So we're using focused ultrasound to create a bunch of heat in a targeted area, and that damages the cells in the target area, and then then collagen induction, it happens, okay? Now, The benefits of HIFU are wrinkle reduction, tightening sagging skin, especially on the neck, lifting cheeks and eyebrows and eyelids, and better jawline definition. So this is one of those treatments that you could do just one single time, and it is in office. All of these handheld devices, the Time Master is a great example. It is ultrasound, it is not HIFU. The high frequency that I showed last week, not HIFU. That is high frequency, completely different. I know that they're confusing because you hear high frequency and you hear HIFU, absolutely different. HIFU is ultrasound. High frequency is actually electricity that is in an alternating current run through those applicators that are full of gases to create an ozone and vibrate surface skin. It's at a high frequency. High frequency actually is part of radio frequency, okay? Now, they do very different things. RF uses bulk heating of the dermis to induce collagen. So you've got your HIFU, which uses targeted ultrasound to create heat that then causes damage that creates collagen, right? Radio frequency uses bulk heat that gets the dermis to a certain temperature, which happens to be 42 degrees. And at that point, damage occurs and collagen is induced. Okay, so both of those modalities actually use heat via different type of energy to induce collagen, okay? So it's interesting because you kind of have the same outcome, but you're just using a different energy. Now, high frequency, on the other hand, you guys, the device that I just showed recently, it's much, much more superficial. It is an alternating current. We use those applicators to create that ozone. And really the main thing to me with high frequency is anti-acne and circulation and detoxification of the cells. It is really, really about kind of clearing out toxins in our circulation, and it's really about creating an environment that's very, very bad for P. acne bacteria. So there is a little bit of heat involved, but it is definitely not bulk heating like RF. It is definitely not like that targeted heat from HIFU. So they're very, very different. Then we have light. Now, lasers and IPL, for example, they are light energies. That's completely different than ultrasound. It's different than radio frequency, and it is different than high frequency. So lasers and light actually use either collimated light with a laser or scattered light with IPL to target something in our skin called chromophores. Chromophores that we're usually after are hemoglobin, which is blood. We look at melanin. So these lasers and IPL, they're drawn to, the light is attracted to these targets, these chromophores, which is why when you go get an IPL and you have broken capillaries, for example, or you have brown spots, the device hones in and sees those browns and those reds depending on how the practitioner sets up their machine, and it goes right after them. It's like a missile, a guided missile that is instantly attracted to those targets. That is why if you are somebody who has darker skin, you have to be really, really careful. If you have darker skin and you have hyperpigmentation, the laser or the IPL has to be able to differentiate between your skin color and the target that you're trying to get rid of. So if your hyperpigmentation is not, you're a dark skinned person and your hyperpigmentation is just a little bit darker than your dark skin, a laser actually cannot tell what target it's going after, and you risk getting burned, which is why it's really, really important that when you seek an appointment with a practitioner, that they assess whether or not you're a good candidate for laser and for light services, because everybody definitely is not a good candidate for laser and light. But it's the best way, in my opinion, aside from skincare, to get rid of reds and browns. That would be lasers and light devices like IPL and BBL. So to summarize, you guys, HIFU is high intensity focused ultrasound. So it uses sound waves to create heat to induce collagen, okay? And RF is radio frequency, which bulk heats the dermis to a certain temperature in order to induce collagen. Now, RF, something that is important to know, RF can be just applied on the surface of the skin and you're heating up that dermis, you're bulk heating the dermis just by running, almost like feels like a hot stone massage. It gets pretty warm and you're heating up that skin to 42 degrees. But RF can also be combined with needling, where needles are penetrated usually around 3 or 4 millimeters now with the new Morpheus device, but 3 millimeters are standard with radio frequency to drive that energy in to bulk heat the dermis and create collagen. And then also another way that RF is used is by actually going in with a probe and heating the dermis, bulk heating the dermis from under into the skin. So that's an in-office procedure, but that is what RF is doing. It is bulk heating that dermis to, through a series of events in the skin, cause collagen induction, tightening of the skin. High frequency uses electricity run through a probe, superficial, and is more about circulation and getting rid of acne, okay? I hope that answers. I hope I didn't just confuse things more. I'm definitely going to dive into each one of these even more thoroughly in their own video, but I got that question so often, especially the difference between HIFU and high frequency, and it's super important to know that they are 100% two different things. So hopefully that answered that question. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Again, thank you for all the birthday wishes. It was just a really lovely day, and I'm trying to answer and say thank you to as many of you as I possibly can. Just know that I am so appreciative of you guys. I really am. I'm so happy to be here with you. I love this community. I see so many of your names so often that I feel like on this end, I know you. So I know you might feel that way about me, but I feel that way about you too. So thank you guys. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day and I will see you in my next skincare video. Take care.